attempt this, y'all, to go to Genesis 22 and 4. I'm gonna attempt to pick up where I left off Sunday and try to teach it. Yo, let me tell y'all what happened today while they're getting it up on the shelf. Avis, do y'all remember Avis, Mrs. Stanley's? She had been messaging me for the longest, and I just kept forgetting to get back with her. At the Housing Authority in Lexington, they're doing a community day thing like they did last year, that she had absolutely no participation from the public or any of my MC world. And Davis contacted me. Well, I found out all about it today. And she, as we began to talk, you know, some kind of way we just ended up reminiscing. And I mean, I went through all emotions. I laughed, I cried, I listened, I talked. Y'all know what I have learned through just today? You gotta empty out in order to be filled. If we're walking around and not empty, we'll never be filled the way that God wants to fill us. Because we're partially full of something else. But in order for God to totally fill us the way that He wants to, He's got to know that we'll be willing to be emptied out. Does that make sense? And I'm telling y'all, I am so tired of walking around contaminated. I'm so tired. I want the fullness of God. That's what I desire, His fullness. And I know it don't come easy. I know, you know, Christians, we think everything's supposed to come easy. But that scripture says, they that wait upon the Lord. I'm not even going there because that's kind of where things took off Sunday. Even though I'm so grateful and I feel like the residue is still in here, the remnants are still in here. I tell y'all what, I slept good Sunday night. About the rest of y'all, man, I slept good. But, okay, so he's got it up. So we're going to go right back into the testing before blessing. And really this flows right along with the glory. You know, it flows right along with it. Excuse me. Because if we want to suffer as long as we suffer, no. But God chose us, just like He had Abraham to take Isaac. Isaac was no fool. Isaac was not no baby. None of this stuff Isaac knew, which we also understand that Abraham and Isaac, their relationship was just a type of God and Jesus. And building up to this point, excuse me, y'all. On verse 4, we're in the Amplified. On verse 4 it says, on the third day of travel, Abraham looked and saw the place in the distance. Y'all remember we talked about that. So basically God was giving him insight into the future. That's what it means, in the distance. Or the prophetic. Verse 5, Abraham said to his servants, settle down and stay here with the donkey, the young man, and I will go over there and worship God. And he will come back to you. And we will come back to you. All right? If I'm not mistaken, we talked about that. If not, I'm getting ready to. And if I did, we're just going to recap for a couple of minutes. Abraham says, stay here with the donkey. He says, stay here with the donkey. the young man, and I will go over there and worship God. So he's speaking in the present tense. I mean in the singular form. I will go worship God. But then he says, and we will come to you. So now it goes from him speaking in the singular to the plural. Yes. So once it transitions from I will and we will, once that transition happens, what he's talking about is as because that donkey that you hear that we just read is the same donkey that is mentioned in the New Testament, where Jesus says, go take it and tie it to the post and leave it there until I have need of it. This is that same donkey. And it's just a foreshadow of God's use for us. So in other words, he told them to take that donkey, so that was a call. So basically, Nisha, what I'm saying right now is that there's a call on your life, and God is saying that he's going to protect it right here until he's ready to use it. And isn't it something that we hear about this donkey in the Old Testament? Now, not realistically, that donkey would be probably 300,000 years old. Something like that, but really, once again, it's a foreshadow. Yeah. And it's all about relationship, it's about covenant, and it's about trust. Yeah. We have to really trust God. And Lord knows that, who phone is that, the pastors? I just feel Bishop Craig. See, she got her new case on the phone now. And she don't even know how to work it. Somebody come rescue her. And she go somewhere giving people tutorials on a tablet. Yeah. But, okay, so this donkey is just as a symbol. It's symbolism. It just symbolizes the call. It also represents Jesus again. Let me tell y'all what Bishop said to me. One time in our late night conversation, I was telling myself, I forgot what book it was, but I asked him, is this a type of that? I cannot remember. He said everything is a type. Did y'all catch that? Yes. Hermeneutically, everything in the Bible is a type, a symbol, or a foreshadow. Okay? Every single thing. So this donkey, here we go, see it. This is first mentioned. Yes. Law first mentioned. So it's mentioned here first, but you hear it again in the New Testament. So there's got to be some meat, some power to it. Okay? But this is, I had to say all that to get to this. He said, the young man, and he said, and I will go over there and worship God. Remember when Jesus left his disciples and he sent some, he told them go on, and then he said, I'm going to go up here and pray. Anytime God is getting ready to go, I want y'all to catch this. Anytime God is going to do something powerful in your life or for you or in front of you, he will always isolate you. Did y'all hear that? Yes. You will always go through an isolation. Good God, anytime God, it seems like I'm lonely. Why not God? Because God is going to do something. And what he's going to do is show his majesty or reveal his glory through the situation. When it's not supposed to work out, but then it works out. When they say no, but then a yes appears. Amen. When there's no money, but then the blessing shows up. Hallelujah. When all hell breaks loose in the house, but then there's a new house. Yes. It's because you've been isolated. When everything was good at home, and then all of a sudden the bottom drops out, God is trying to isolate you. And I've said this before, when you find out about the cookouts because you see the pictures on Facebook, but you weren't invited, you couldn't go. You couldn't go. When God tells you to move here and leave from your father Abraham, God was always isolating Abraham. Did y'all not know that? And we know that Abraham was Adam was the first Christ. We know that. Yes. But who was the last Christ? Jesus. But God had to use Abraham to show obedience and sacrifice because Adam failed. Yeah. So he needed somebody to show his goodness. So he did it again through Abraham. But here's the thing. he made Abraham and his wife, Sarah, he made them wait all these years. It's isolation. You know what another word for isolation biblically is? It's just hell or pain or wilderness. When you are going through pure hell, God is isolating you because he's getting ready to do something. Because he trusts you to handle this one thing, to take on this staff, Moses. He trusts you. I know I can use Camilla for this. Tracy can't do what I need Camilla to do. I know I can use Darline because Tamitha can't do what I need Darline to do. I know I can use Josh for this. Watch this, because Marlon can't do what Josh is going to do. See, it ain't about a title. It's not about a title. Listen, God can care less about these titles. These titles are all about pleasing man. They're self-gratifying. Yes, it's about order and protocol and infrastructure and God's system in as far as the local church and the universal church. Yes, it is. But how many collars have y'all seen people wear into heaven? How many full sets of choir or attire or vestments have y'all known? Show me that scripture that says if you wear this full set and wear it like this, then I'll let you in heaven. That stuff don't impress God. You want to impress God? You show God that he can trust you. Remember what we talked about Sunday? It is not about passing every test. God knows what you're going to pass. He knows what you're not going to pass. But will you stay the course? That's why we need each other, because when I want to give up, I need somebody that's not going to let me give up.
Amen. Yes.
And so forth and so on. When y'all need somebody got to be there for you.
Amen.
Y'all understand? God, I wish I could give this testimony, but I'm not. So Abraham says to his servants, settle here and stay here. What is a servant? A slave. What is a slave? A follower. You either a slave to sin or you're a slave to Jesus Christ. One or the other. Christianity is the white man religion, and it's set up to keep black people bound, and it's a religion that's set up so that black people will forgive the white people and this and that. Man, that's a bunch of bull. Y'all get caught up on that mess if you want to. I know God. I know God. I know that it was God that was with me when I was out in the world.
All right.
It was not my good looks or anything like that. I know God. I'm talking about through relationship. I know him through relationship over here. Yes. When you sitting in the hospital and I came up there to see you and you looked off into the sky and you began to say, I see them, and you started crying, I knew right then, I didn't see, but I knew what you were seeing. That's relationship. I'm sorry for pointing. That's relationship. So I don't need nobody to come tell me that's the white man. You know what? I'm so sick of black people. I'm tired of people empowering laziness. Everybody want to put something on this person and that person. Well, what are you doing to change? Most of the people that's out here crying and complaining probably didn't even go vote. Y'all understand what I'm saying? And so the thing is, y'all, is that we're going to become a slave to something. I'd rather be a slave to Jesus Christ. And all that means is serving. I'm going to serve God when I want to. I'm going to serve him when I don't want to. I'm going to serve him when I'm up. I'm going to serve him when I'm down. And if I get to the point where I want to quit, one of y'all better catch me and hold me up, not hold me down. You know, but I need my hitters. I was about to start preaching. I'm going to teach. But that's what I need. I need my hitters around me. See, that's why so many people backslide, because the ones that said they was with them in the beginning left. They abandoned. And so as soon as they started to sink or slip or fall back, I got it. And so we got to become our brother's keeper. But he said, and we will come back to you.
All right.
So Jesus goes on the cross. But now it's the fulfillment of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So what God was saying, or what Abraham was saying is, I need you to stay here. Remember Jesus says, I go to prepare a place. I go with my Father. I got to go prepare a place that where I am, he may be also.
Yes.
But he let them know that he was going to return.
Yes.
Now, who was it that was there waiting? His mom. That's who. Why were the men not there? Because that was the moment where the church transitions into the kingdom of God. So there's a time in your life where it's no longer about simple things, but now it got to become about a whole broad spectrum.
Wow.
That's that period between testaments in your life. It's called growing up. There come a time in our life that I love when Paul said when I was a child,
Yes.
I spoke as one. He said, I thought as, see, the way you think is how you're going to say, well, how you're going to talk.
Yes.
The way you think and what you talk is what you're going to create into your reality. So if I'm thinking and I'm speaking positivity, I got to produce positivity. But if I'm thinking and I'm speaking negativity, then see, time off is what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, this is too hard. I can't do this. I ain't going to make it, this and that. Okay, and we'll see you in the same spot 20 years from now. But as for me and my house.
Yes.
So Abraham says, he said, and we will come back to you. Then, verse 6, then Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on the shoulders of Isaac his son. Here we go again. This is the first instance of this. When is the last instance that we see of it or hear of it? Jesus kept bearing his cross.
Yeah.
So Jesus was not the first person in the Bible to bear a cross. Matter of fact, if we want to get biblically historical, the crucifying or crucifixion was the number one means. See, now we have the death chamber, the gas chamber, and what is that? Lethal injection. Well, one of the many ways of punishment in the biblical days was to hang people on the cross. Here's what differentiated between Jesus from everybody else. Number one, Jesus' cross was over 300 pounds. Everybody else's cross was averaging around 100, 120 pounds. That's the first thing. They did everything they could to embarrass him, to break his spirit, to get into his head and everything. Everything they did to him had some type of symbolization. When they put that crown on him of thorns, they was mocking his kingship. When they began to cast the lots, they was mocking the fact that they knew that this veil was about to be torn. Everything that they did had some type of, even when they you know what? Ooh, God just gave me this. Baby, the enemy is so stupid that he comes, the attack that he brings on you, Jesus has already won it. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for what? Okay, so our transgressions and our iniquities already. Our wrongdoing. The chastisement of our peace was where? Wait a minute, hold on. Then, and laid it upon the shoulders of Isaac his son. Laid it upon the shoulders of Isaac his son.
Yes.
But by his stripes we were healed, right? Okay, so when he laid that, and he took the fire, well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, and he took the fire pit in his own hand, and the sacrificial knife, and the two of them walked on together. The two of them walked on together. The two of them walked on together. In the Bible, when you start talking about two walking together, it's a spiritual thing. Two represents unity.
Yes.
The number of agreement.
Yes.
Okay? And when there's walking, there's transition. And so there's a transition. I'm telling y'all, this thing goes deeper than what we're reading. So there's agreement. When we agree, that's how we move. If y'all want to see some change in your life, get somebody that's powerful enough to agree with you. All I need is somebody to agree with you. God, I want to preach so bad. If Nisha, if you can just find, so Jesus comes and says, where there's two or three to gather in my name. Ooh, Lord, there I am in the midst, he said, of them. Not the situation, I'm in the midst of them. So if I can agree with you, then I provoke God to come in the midst of us. And once those two come into agreement, that third person has to come. It's about transition in the kingdom, y'all. God is not glorified when there's no transition. If we're standing still and standing stagnant, that means that we're not moving. We have got to keep it moving. We got to keep it pushing. We got to, when I see you see Elder, they looked at you yesterday and saw y'all calling for rides, and they saw you as sick as you were on the bus lines and all of that stuff. But you stayed faithful to your business. You stayed faithful to God first, to your wife, to your business, all of this stuff. You stayed faithful. God said, I got to come in the midst of this thing. I got to. It was a testing before the blessing. So now when people that saw you yesterday and they see you today, who gets glory from that? Yes. And I tell y'all all the time, God is glorified, but he allows us to reap the benefit of it. She sung that at the beginning of the service. See, agreement. Anytime, Tiara, if I can just agree with you, and if you'll agree with me, watch what can happen. Watch what happens. Deaconess, y'all, see, I ain't gonna do that. But anyway, when there's agreement, there's a birthing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Where there's two or three gathered in my name, touching, there I am. I just need somebody to touch me. I want to see some stuff happen. If God will do it for them, and he's the same today, yesterday, and forevermore, then surely he'll do it. And he's no respect of persons. So if he did it for them, he'll do it for me. So the difference is, what are y'all doing that I'm not doing? Or what have y'all gone through that I haven't gone through? What is the lesson to come to learn from this that maybe I haven't learned? Y'all see? It's multiple factors and why. And then sometimes God isn't doing anything because it's not that you're doing anything wrong. He's saying, I'm just waiting. I'm going to get so much glory out of this thing. I'm just waiting. And we got him doing this, and God said, I know, just keep going. I'm right here. God, when you even see me crying, God said, yeah, I see you. God, I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. You ain't. I got you. God, where are you? I'm standing right here. Why don't you come in? Because. And right when you think all is over, I said, now the stage is set. Now let me do it. And God rolls his sleeves up and say, now I can do what I need to do. Because it's not about you suffering and stuff. It's about, God, I hate, man, Bishop, once again, we talk about it. I get sick of talking about haters all the time. I'm sick of talking about haters. But you need haters in your life. You need them. They're either going to make you conform or they're going to make you keep pushing. There's one of the two. You're either going to fold under the pressure or you're going to raise up and say, you know what, I'm going to prove them wrong. My mom used to always tell me, don't quit proving them right, prove them wrong. And what would I do? Go do something stupid and prove everybody right. Until finally the thing clicked. So it said that they got the wood and Abraham laid it on the shoulders of his son. Also, y'all remember with the prophecy of Isaiah, it said in the government, the weight of the government was going to be where? Upon his shoulders. See, all of this was all about, what's the word? It was political. Jesus' whole crucifixion was all political, which we are seeing right now.
Yes, yes.
It's all a foreshadow, y'all. I told you already, everything in the Bible is a type, symbol, or foreshadow.
Yes.
That's why I love my bishop. Bishop, I hope you see this. I love, because when I have somebody that can impart into me and teach me, that's why you go to school. I had somebody tell me, you can't tell anybody this and that because then they know. Good, I want them to know. If I don't have a spiritual covering that I can't brag on or that I can't quote, I got the wrong one.
Yeah, that's right. Amen.
I got the wrong one. Excuse me. But everything in the Bible. And so when Jesus went through that crucifixion, it was simply because the king could not have all these jokers running around praising this peasant as he looked at, little carpenter boy, when he's the king.
Right.
And that wasn't nothing. Y'all remember when Nebuchadnezzar had the dream? There you go again. It was all about that. They're praising him.
Yeah.
They're not praising you. You gotta, Nebuchadnezzar didn't even want to put him in there. And he the one that said, if anybody, go back and read that, he the one that said, if anybody don't praise me, then I'm going to kill him. And that was supposed to have been bad. But when it came down to them three boys, he tried to back out of it. And who was it? It was the servants that kept pushing it. And he had to give in. He had to. Pilate, same thing. He did not want to crucify Jesus.
No.
But it was because of his soldiers and his staff. He had to. Do y'all understand?
Yes.
Satan don't want none of you. He trembles at your name. Why? Because greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. Satan is scared of you. Satan is a coward, y'all. He despises even, he don't want to come nowhere near you, but it's just little imps that say, you said, they got to. You said you will, and you'll be like, you said this, you got it, and so now he got to come and attack. But he already knows that he's defeated.
Yeah.
Who wants to engage in a battle or a fight that they know they're going to lose? That's stupid. That makes absolutely no sense. Lady T, do you think for 1 second that Satan wants any of you? After everything that you've gone through, that you've conquered, you're still standing here no matter how you feel, physically, mentally, or spiritually. The fact that you're still standing and sitting and got this beautiful little son and a wonderful family and 2 beautiful cars in the driveway, a beautiful house to go to, a nice job to go to, an entrepreneur for a husband. Do you really think Satan wants any piece of you? But the reason he attacks you is because his stupid imps are standing there provoking him. It's like the bully at school. The bully ain't want none of you. The bully was scared of you. But he had to come and try you, or she. But why? Because you said you can beat up. You said you can sit. And then they beat up, talk these jokers up, and they run up on something they didn't think they was going to run up on.
Amen.
The enemy wants absolutely nothing of you all. But he's influenced. And when we fall victim to influence or peer pressure, it is a demonic force. It's demonic.
Amen.
It's demonic. And I'm not talking about on the one that falls. I'm talking about the one that's trying to do the influencing. If I'm not pushing you closer to God, I'm pulling you away.
That's right.
That's simple. Cut and dry.
That's right.
And so it said he took the fire, the wood, put it on the shoulders of his son, and he took, wait a minute, I said that. No, yeah, okay, let's talk about this knife. And the took, the fire pit in his own hand, and the sacrificial knife. And the two of them walked on together. This sacrificial knife comes back into play with Jesus.
Yes.
How? Somebody help me. Pierced his side. What happened when that sword pierced his side? Blood and what?
Water.
Blood represents the covenant of the New Testament.
Yes.
Water represents the spirit that was broken, or Jesus, or the flesh that was broken. So in other words, there's a parting or a time span between the old and the new.
Yes.
Jesus.
So they think about it. Why did they pierce him on his side? They pierced him on his side because that's the side where all the major arteries and all the major organs are. They trying to get his heart, but they didn't.
Jesus.
According to theologians, they got him right between the ribs. Which is something because what's the three parts of the rib cage?
The true rib, the false rib.
What the true rib? Tell me something about that true rib. Talking your thing. You just said it too. That's what I want them to hear.
The true woman.
The true rib or the true one. Hold on. All right. The false rib.
False rib is the counterfeit.
Or the imitation. The sham. And the floating rib
Is the maybe.
is the what?
Maybe.
Is the what?
Maybe.
Y'all hear that? Don't let Satan get into y'all heads with this maybe mess. They pierced him in his son. Okay. No. You're gonna have to do another. You're gonna have to. Y'all want Pastor Tracy to preach something? Oh, what's it, baby? Do y'all want her to preach?
Yes.
Okay, that's another yes.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
you got to go. Okay. Yeah. Because I really want you to go back through that revelation with them piercing Jesus on the side. Y'all, it was so much in that. There was so much in that. But just know this, that water and blood had to shed. And anytime there's a birthing that takes place, water and blood has to shed. There's got to be a parting. Now, the first time there's a parting of any fluids or liquids in the Bible is when God parted the sea for deliverance or a birthing to take place. The Israelites was birthed from bondage into freedom. There had to be a parting of it. The reason it wasn't blood was because it was already called the Red Sea
Amen.
or the Blood Sea. It was already called that. So it was already named the Red Sea or the Blood Sea, but there was a parting of the water. So you still have a separating of blood and water.
Amen.
And anytime there's a separation of blood and water, a birthing has to take place. It's called liberation or being liberated or liberty.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, wow.
Verse 7. What time is it? Okay. Verse 7. Now, here's where things are getting ready to flip, y'all. This is where it's getting ready to flip. Now, this is the first mention of Isaac speaking to his dad.
Amen.
Jesus on the cross. My father, why have thou forsaken me? Y'all remember that?
Yes.
And Isaac said to Abraham, my father. Isaac says it. Jesus says it. Isaac says, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. Jesus on the cross, Father, why have thou forsaken me? God never responded. Why didn't God respond to that? He didn't need to because Jesus already knew what was up.
Amen.
When you know what's happening, then God has no need to tell you anything. We want God to answer us in our dilemmas because we want the easy way out too much. And God said, I've already told you this.
Yes.
I already told you was going to go through. I already told you that it was going to hurt. I've told you that you was going to cry. What are you willing to do to speed the progression of this thing? That's why Jesus told him, whatever you got to do, let's do it. Do it quick.
Yes.
Let's get this over with.
Yes.
Part 2 got to come. And anybody that's ever been in pain, like, let's do this as quick as possible.
Amen.
I hate pain. Isaac said, look, the fire. Fire represents what? Presence of God. So Isaac is saying, look, the fire. And the wood represents what? The cross. So here's God, here's the cross. But where's the lamb for the burnt offering?
All right.
In other words, where is Jesus in this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Jesus is the Lamb of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Isaac, he recognized his God. And here's this cross. And when he said, I'm willing to do this, but I need to know where's Jesus in this. Jesus is not in the Old Testament. The lies they tell.
He is.
He's all in the Old Testament. He's all in. Isaac had enough to know to look for him. Well, you know, Isaac was the baby, and Abraham carried him. That's a lie straight from the pits of hell. Isaac was not a baby. Isaac carried his own wood. He had to have some size to him. You can't expect Joshua to carry no lumber. Or man, you can't expect that. A lot of grown-ups can't. You know, we ain't raising men no more. We raising powder puffs. Okay, so let's get back. Oh, God, I will repent. Lord Jesus. He said, but where's the lamb? You see, I tried it. For the burnt offering. Now, watch this. Here we go. So you're going to love this. The burnt offering right here is what? For the worship. Where's the lamb for the worship? That's what burnt offering represents. Nisha, it represents worship.
Yes.
Okay, I know I'm throwing a bunch of types of symbols out, and I'm doing it all because of where I'm going. So that's why I'm telling y'all better bring some pencils and paper. That's why I love Kingdom Empowerment. This is my baby. I'll let any of y'all can preach on Sunday mornings, but my Kingdom Empowerment, me and the owner of the company, we had a conversation about that. And I was like, look, I gotta be at church on Wednesdays, man. You know. But Abraham said, my son. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. Somebody tell me what he said. But the first thing Abraham said, Abraham being the type or foreshadow of God, Isaac being a type or foreshadow of Jesus. Right? So Isaac asks him, where's the lamb? So then he provokes Abraham to answer, or God to answer. And what does Abraham turn around and say? God will provide for himself. So what was happening, he was getting the response. Abraham understood because he was speaking as God. I'm going to provide my lamb for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish I was all hyped up like I was. God, look. Okay, I see this wood. I see my cross. I'm willing to go through this. And I see your presence right here. So I gotta bear this cross. And I see you right here. But where's the lamb? He didn't realize that he was going to be the one that God was going to use to gain a new name on the earth, Jehovah Jireh. God had to reveal that side. That was the whole point of all of this. God said, like what's his name? Jay-Z, just let me introduce myself. You know, he was just wanting to show you a different side of him. I just recently did something, and my wife looked, she said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I really about had to ask myself, who is this person I married? People in situations will always reveal some things about them that you never knew. But he said, God will provide for himself. Listen, a lamb for the burnt offering. A lamb, Jesus, so in other words, Abraham's answer was, God is he's going to provide this sacrifice so that I can be worshipped. That's what Isaac was asking. I need to get this worship to you. But how? How do I? He didn't understand what was about to happen. Okay? It's something when you are about to be killed for the name of Jesus, or for the name of God, and you looking for who's going to kill you. Not in a bad way, but you're looking for him. Let's get this over with. Whatever you do it quick. Trying to get this thing to happen so that the glory of God can be revealed. God read that. Now, here we go. So the two walk on together. Do y'all remember in Genesis? I want to say second chapter, 26, somewhere in there where it says that the two walked together in the cool of the day. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
That meant they walked in the spirit.
Yes.
That's why Jeremiah could come back and say, before God was speaking through him, before I formed you in your mother's womb, God said, I knew you. How did he know you? Because we walked together already. We have like spirits. I put my spirit in you. I breathed life into you. I knew you before you was a twinkle in your daddy's eye. I knew you. God is saying we spent time together. We had that word "knew" means relations or relationship. God is saying I knew you. I had relationship. Well, I'm a man, yeah, but all the way up until that piercing took place. I'm get ready to say that. No, I'm not, because we recorded. That's why that piercing had to take place. I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait for you to preach this. God, I can't wait. But they walk together in the spirit realm, Nisha. That's the reason why you can be doing something like, man, I just had deja vu. Yeah, you did. You had that brief moment where your spirit and your soul hit time. And you saw something that you had already seen before when you walk with God in the cool of the day.
Jesus. My God.
Man, woo, I seen this. And God said, yeah, you have. And sometimes God will do that just to let you know how far you've come. Because when you finally realize, I knew I know this, and then you think about it, like, well, that was a good time. And God is saying, yeah, I needed you to see this.
Yeah.
So you'll see where you are now compared to where you were then when this happened. He said, I ordained you. I sanctified you. And he said, I ordained you a prophet to the nations. Well, so many people get that right all oh God called me to the nations. Really? Are you saved? Okay, so verse 9. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood and bound Isaac his son. Where's the donkey? We don't hear about that donkey right now, do we? We ain't heard no more since earlier in this chapter, right? That donkey is gone. I'm okay. I love this, y'all. Right here. I can hear people now. Just please hurry up, get to the point. So I got my mind's grown, especially for Miko sitting there. I don't know, she probably already ahead of me. But anyway, it said, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood and bound Isaac his son and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Y'all remember they nailed Jesus? Abraham reached out his hand. Abraham, what I tell y'all, Abraham was a type or foreshadow of who? God.
Yes.
Reached out his hand. Hand represents what? Power, fivefold, and grace. Grace. So Abraham reached out his hand, took the knife to kill his son, but the angel of the Lord called unto him from heaven and said, here we go. Abraham! Abraham! Anytime a name is mentioned twice, it's power, it's authority, and it's the voice of God. Anytime a name is mentioned twice in the Bible, and it's like that, anytime, or if the Bible says lo, and then this, and it's another one, I beseech you. Anytime that it's the voice of God or a prophetic utterance that's getting ready to happen, and something phenomenal is coming behind that. Whether it's a testing or a blessing. But something is coming behind it. So God called him twice. And Oh yeah, Abraham. And he answered, here am I. I'm not even gonna deal with that either. That'll take too long. Verse 12 is where I really, between Sunday and today. The Lord said, do not reach out with the knife in your hand. God stopped Abraham because it was not time yet.
All right.
Remember later on, for my time hasn't come. Remember when Jesus was talking to his mom?
Yes.
And he said, my time hasn't come yet.
Uh-huh.
Because he understood things had not been fulfilled yet.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, it's not my time to do. What was that miracle? To do what?
Turn water into wine.
Can I back up? We go there? Y'all can get it? Okay. When Jesus went on the cross and they carried him. So they go to this party, a celebration of marriage,
Yes.
two becoming one.
Oh, my God.
What God has joined together, let no man. That word put asunder, not us under, but asunder means tear apart or destroy or separate.
Amen.
What God has joined together.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they're at this celebration of two becoming one, and they run out of wine. That means that time span of the Bible was at an end. And so Jesus' mama, who was the one that rebuked him when he was 12 and stayed in the temple,
Yes.
she rebuked him and came to him later and said, we're out of wine, we need you to fix this. Jesus did not recognize, Nisha, that it was his time. Luke 2nd chapter, if you want to go there. Jesus did not recognize that it was his time because he understood that I had to be released. It's the order of God. Even with the baptism, Jesus told John, he said, I need you to baptize me. John, who am I? I need you to baptize me. Jesus said, I have need of you. The Father have need of you to baptize me in order for what? All things to be fulfilled.
Amen. Amen. Yes.
Jesus had to go under what was going to come out.
Yes.
I'm going to say it again. He had to go under
Yes.
what he was going to come out, what was going to come out of him. So in order for the shedding of the water and blood, there had to be a piercing. But at this time when you look forward in the Bible and they're at this wedding, this reception or a party, and everybody turning up and stuff, and they run out of wine, then here comes Mary going to Jesus saying, come and fix this. Jesus says, why you come to me? It's not my time yet. She gave him the release. What does that mean? It now becomes his time.
Yes.
And he goes, and he did not see. I'm so tired of people taking that story and taking it out of context. He didn't immediately turn the water into wine. It did not become wine until they began to drink it.
Yes. That's right.
So he tells his disciples, drink of this cup. But as often as you do it in what? In everything we do, we got to remember, why was this blood shed?
Yes.
We don't do communion just because it's first Sunday. You know, that's traditional, but it's why? Who said we had to do it on the first Sunday? The only time they did it in the Bible, well, actually in the Bible they did it not all the time because it was a Jewish custom. Every time the Jewish people, the rabbis would come together, first thing they would do is break bread. So they did it constantly. You go up in New York, up in the Brooklyn, in that section where I hate saying Jews, it sounds derogatory. But you go in that area, I forgot the name of that section. Huh? Yeah, what, did I say it anyway? Oh, okay. Yeah, where it's a section, just like you got Chinatown, you got Little Italy, you got all these places. But the Jewish rabbis and stuff, there's nothing to go right down the street. They all walking around with big beards, their hats, the cassocks, and all the black and stuff. There's nothing to see there. And every time they go into a temple, the first thing they do, they kneel, they pray. They have a basket at the door. They don't do tithe and offering and stuff. What they do is they make a yearly vow. That's what, well, we're here now. They make a yearly vow. And so it's a tithe. but they do it off of what they estimate their yearly gross income to be. And we know that was with grain and, cattle and stuff like that. So that's why the Farmer's Almanac was so vital up to all this scientific technology and stuff, because this stuff dates all the way back to then. They really lived by this stuff. They went by it. They could look at the way the stars was aligned and the moon and all of this stuff, which was a gift, which later became pimped out for what is the yeah, but
your girl is doing that. Dionne Warwick.
Yeah, psychic. Thank you.
Psychic, yeah.
It's a gift. Every gift has a counter to it. Okay, but anyway, the farmers, they went by that. So the rabbis would say they would look at the last year, and then they did their averages and stuff, and they would look at what their projections were for the future or for that year, and their vow would be the offering, but the tithe would be what they know based off of last year that they raised, or whatever. That's how they did that. They would go into the temple and they would wash their hands. That's why the Pharisees, remember, they came to Jesus, well, why you eat and didn't wash your hands? And the Pharisees want to challenge everything. And they would sit at a table, and whoever is the highest ranking, the rabbi, would sit there and would take, thank you, he would take a piece of bread, a biscuit almost, just a big piece of bread, and he would break it. It wasn't no little cup. And people come around and you got folks with white gloves on. I don't know where that came from. But it wasn't like that. It was not like that. Do y'all remember we did the no, you wouldn't hear that then. What was it? The prophetic feast. We did a prophetic feast. We did everything verbatim like the Jewish did. I'm talking about, that's where all those prayer shawls and stuff came from. Deaconess made them. That's where all those came. We had the cup bearers, everything. We had the food laid out that they ate. Yeah, all of that. No, we didn't go slaying no animals. But what we did do, we went to the store and bought some bacon, and I took a fire pit and I put the bacon out there, and we had the incense, everything just like they did. And when I tell y'all the power of God moved in that house that night, if you look at the pictures, it's powerful. Just looking at how we processed in according to the rituals and everything. So if we really wanted to follow the Jewish customs, being that Jesus was Jewish, you go to a Jewish and say, I'm a Christian. You will, man, they might have to carry you up out of there. Mention a cross to them. A cross to them is the same thing as a swastika to us.
Yes.
It's very disrespectful. See, we've got things so twisted. But getting back to my point, so this is how they would go about things. And the rabbi, you remember we went to Atlanta when I received apostolic succession? It was the first time ever. You went too, right? You and Lady T? It's the first time ever I saw it, because, I'd always think, ain't no way in the world I'm drinking behind all these folk and stuff. But you have the highest ranking prelate, and you have a glass of wine, real wine. I ain't talking about none of the grape juice, I'm talking about real wine. And the people will come around, and the bishop will break that bread and put it in your mouth with his hands. It symbolizes humility, being humble, and servanthood. And then after that, he would take that, what is it called? It's not called a glass, what is it called? Chalice. Take that chalice and hold it up to your mouth. And you don't put your hands up there. He does that, and he blesses you. Just like the Old Testament priest.
Yes.
That's Catholic stuff. That's the universal church.
Yes.
All of that stems from the Old Testament.
Amen.
There's some stuff you cannot get away from. That's the reason why we get called a cult. Because so many people do things wrong, to where when they see it right, it scares them. People fear what they don't understand. So when they see something being done right, and it's like the only people that really truly understand what goes on in the pulse are the ones that's really truly operating biblically sound. We don't just do things off of a whim in here. The stuff we do is biblically sound or God directed. Yes. And so that's where when you go over to Jesus going into the temple and, you know, the wedding reception and stuff, and his mama says, we're out of wine. And he says, fill the vessels with what? Water.
Yes.
He didn't say fill them with wine. They ain't have none. He said fill them with water.
Nice.
That was the first thing. There has to be a filling. And going all the way back to the beginning of my opening statement is in order for there to be a true filling, there has to be an emptying out.
Yes.
And the Bible says that you can't put new wine in old skin. Why is that?
Verse.
In a verse. Okay. Let's now go in the spirit on that. Phenomenal. You just said it too simple. I wanted more talking. No, but that's it. Old man, new man.
Yeah.
So in other words, Nisha, if you still got some of the old Nisha in you, then God can't really use you 1,000,000% like he wants to, because it's a little bit of that, you know. I still got some, we all got work to do. And God, as Steve Harvey say, God is still working on us.
Yes.
You know, every now and then, y'all want to cut that thing right now, please. I'm here to tell you.